At the heart of an African village lies a secret no one dares to face: a drum that beats at midnight. No hand strikes it, yet its echo shakes the land, and those who hear it are never the same. The village of Odu, nestled among hills and thick forests, was known for its quiet nights. Crickets sang, owls hooted, and the river whispered softly in the dark. But there was one sound that broke this peace: the drum that played only at midnight. No hand was ever seen striking it, yet its rhythm carried across the land, steady and haunting. It was not the sound of celebration, nor the beat of war. It was slow, deep, and heavy, as though the earth itself trembled with each strike. Children hid under mats, mothers prayed silently, and the bravest hunters refused to step outside when the drum began. The elders always warned, the drum is not a call to dance, it is a call to doom. Whoever follows its sound shall never be seen again. This warning had been passed down for generations. No man or woman had ever confessed to seeing the drum, but its presence was undeniable and its power was great. Some claimed it came from the forest, others from the hills, and a few whispered it rose from beneath the ground. No one knew, yet everyone feared. For young Kelechi, however, fear was not enough to silence his curiosity. Each night, as he lay awake listening to the slow, dreadful rhythm, he wondered, who plays the drum? Why only at midnight? And what fate truly awaited those who sought it? Questions burned in his chest, stronger than the warnings of his elders. And though he was only a boy on the brink of manhood, he felt a strange pull, as though the drum itself called his name. Kelechi did not yet know it, but the sound that shook the night would soon lead him into a path where bravery and doom were one and the same. The morning after the drum's echo faded, Odu returned to its usual hum of life. Yet the people walked with unease, carrying yesterday's fear into the daylight. Women fetched water from the river while keeping their eyes on the ground. Men sharpened tools with heavy silence. The children dared not mimic the drumbeat as they once did, for the elders punished even jokes about it. Kelechi watched the council of elders gather beneath the iroko tree, their heads bent low. He crept close enough to hear whispers of an old tale. "The drum is older than our fathers' fathers," Baba Orji murmured. "It is tied to the pact we swore in blood. If the young ones learn too much, the balance will break." Another elder shook his head. "Better to let them fear than to let them know. Curiosity is death." The words stirred Kelechi's spirit. He longed to press forward, to ask the questions that burned in him, but his mother's voice echoed in his mind. "Do not meddle with what does not belong to the living." Still, he could not shake the thought that the elders were hiding more than they admitted. That night, as the stars stretched across the heavens, the drum returned, louder, heavier, and closer. Kelechi sat upright, his body trembling, but this time he did not hide. He listened, counted the beats, and felt a strange rhythm pulsing in his chest, as if the drum had chosen him. Days passed, but Kelechi's mind knew no peace. While his friends chased goats or climbed trees, he sat by the edge of the forest, staring into the thicket as though it held answers. "Why do you always sit here?" his friend Nadi asked one afternoon. Kelechi's lips tightened. "Don't you hear it, Nadi?" "The drum calls us." "Aren't you curious?" Nadi shook his head quickly, fear flashing in his eyes. "My uncle went after it once. They never found him. Only his staff was discovered, broken at the forest's edge. Leave it, Kelechi. Leave it alone, but Kelechi could not leave it. His heart beat to a rhythm only he seemed to hear, and each night it grew stronger. One evening, his mother found him staring at the hills. "My son," she said softly, "promise me you will not do what I fear. The drum has taken many. You are all I have." Her voice broke, but Kelechi remained silent. He could not promise what his spirit refused to release. That night, when the drum began again, he rose from his mat. For the first time, his feet carried him toward the forest instead of away from it. The forest loomed like a wall of shadows, thick with the smell of earth and old secrets. Each step Kelechi took seemed heavier than the last, the drum guiding him deeper into the unknown. The trees whispered above him, and unseen creatures rustled in the undergrowth. The deeper he went, the louder the drum became, vibrating through his bones. He reached a point where the air grew strangely cold, unnatural in the heart of Africa. Before him stood a great circle of stones, their surfaces carved with symbols he had never seen. At the center of the circle sat the drum itself, massive, dark, and alive with a faint glow. No hands touched it, yet it beat steadily, shaking the earth with each strike. Kelechi's breath caught. It was both beautiful and terrible, a sight both forbidden and irresistible. He wanted to run, but his legs would not obey. Instead, he stepped forward, drawn closer, as though an unseen hand pushed him on. Then, from the shadows, a voice broke the silence. "Who dares disturb the drum?" Kelechi froze, his heart hammering louder than the drum itself. From the darkness beyond the stones, a figure emerged. It was tall, cloaked in smoke, its eyes burning like fire. Its voice rumbled like thunder. "Child of Odu, why do you come where none dare tread?" Kelechi's voice trembled, but he forced the words out. "I want to know the truth." "Who plays the drum? Why does it sound only at midnight?" The figure studied him in silence. "Truth is heavier than fear," it said. "The drum is no instrument of men. It is the heart of a pact, sealed in blood before your time. The living and the dead are bound by it. To follow its sound is to step between worlds." Kelechi's knees shook, but he lifted his chin. "Then let me know. Let me see," the figure's eyes flared. "So be it. But once you know, you cannot turn back." The keeper raised its hand, and the air thickened. The drumbeat grew faster, louder, as though it had recognized Kelechi's courage. Or his doom. The keeper stepped closer, its smoky form shifting like mist in the wind. It stretched out one hand, and Kelechi felt heat sear across his skin. He gasped and looked down. Strange markings glowed along his forearm, symbols like those carved into the stones around the drum. They pulsed with each beat, burning but not consuming him. "This is the mark of the drum," the keeper said. "Few have borne it and lived. It binds you to the pact, ties your spirit to the rhythm that bridges life and death. You are no longer just a child of Odu. You are chosen." Kelechi's breath came in sharp bursts. Chosen for what? The keeper's eyes flared. To carry truth and burden alike. But beware, the drum demands sacrifice. Your path will not be free of pain. Kelechi staggered back, clutching his glowing arm. The markings dimmed but did not vanish. They throbbed in rhythm with his heart. The keeper melted into the shadows, leaving him alone in the stone circle with the cursed drum. The beat slowed again, steady, eternal. Terrified yet unable to resist, Kelechi turned and ran back toward the village, but no matter how far he fled, the sound of the drum followed, no longer just in the forest, but inside his very blood. When Kelechi stumbled back into the village at dawn, his mother was waiting at the threshold of their hut. Her eyes widened when she saw the faint glow of the markings on his arm. She covered her mouth with trembling hands. "My son," she whispered, pulling him inside quickly. "What have you done?" Kelechi collapsed onto the mat. His chest heaved as he told her everything. The drum, the stones, the keeper, and the mark it had left upon him. Tears welled in her eyes. "I begged you not to seek it. You have opened a door that should have stayed shut. The drum is not a mystery to solve. It is a curse to fear." "But why, mother?" Kelechi pressed. "Why would the elders hide this from us?" She shook her head, voice low. "Because truth is heavier than fear, just as the keeper said." If the village knew the price of its survival, we would not endure. Better to let fear guard the secret. Her words did not silence Kelechi's spirit. Instead, they deepened his resolve. He now carried the mark. He could not turn back. He would uncover everything, even if it meant standing against the very elders of Odu. By the next night, Kelechi's secret was already slipping through the cracks. His closest friend, Nadi, noticed the faint glow of his arm when they fetched water at dusk. "What happened to you?" he whispered, eyes wide. Kelechi hesitated, then pulled Nadi aside, telling him of the keeper and the pact. At first, Nadi laughed nervously, shaking his head. But when Kelechi rolled up his sleeve and revealed the markings, glowing faintly in the shadows, his friend's laughter died. "You should not have told me this," he whispered. "If the elders find out, they will silence you." But the words spread. One by one, other youths noticed Kelechi's strange behavior, the way he listened to the night air, how his eyes seemed to follow the rhythm of an invisible drum. Some were afraid. Others were curious. They whispered that perhaps Kelechi was chosen for something greater than fear. By the time the next midnight came, more than one boy stood at their hut doors, listening to the drum with restless hearts. Curiosity had spread like fire through dry grass. The elders, noticing the change, gathered in anger. The silence of Odu was breaking. The following morning the council summoned Kelechi to the great Iroko tree. The entire village gathered, their eyes filled with suspicion and fear. Baba Orji, the oldest elder, raised his staff and thundered, "You, child, have brought unrest into Odu. You speak of what must never be spoken. You spread questions where there must be silence. Do you not fear the curse of the drum?" Kelechi lifted his sleeve and showed his arm. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the markings flickered faintly in the daylight. "I have seen the truth," he declared. "The drum is no spirit's plaything. It is a pact. A pact of blood, bound by our elders long before my time. Tell them, Baba Orji. Tell them what you hide." The elder's face darkened like a storm. "Silence, boy," he roared. But the people had already begun to murmur. Doubt gnawed at them. They had feared the drum all their lives. Now the possibility of betrayal whispered louder than any midnight beat. Baba Orji struck the earth with his staff. "If you speak again of this madness, the spirits themselves will claim you. You bring only doom." But Kelechi's courage had grown with his burden. He met the elder's glare with steady eyes. The doom was always here. You only covered it with silence. That night, the drum began earlier than usual, its beat furious and fast. The people trembled in their huts, whispering that Kelechi had angered the spirits. Yet Kelechi sat awake, the marks on his arm burning hotter than fire. The sound filled his chest until he could hardly breathe. He stumbled outside, clutching his arm, and found Nadi waiting. "You hear it too?" Nadi asked, his face pale. "Yes," Kelechi gasped. "It is inside me." The two boys followed the sound together, drawn beyond the huts and into the open square. One by one, villagers peeked from their doors and followed, torches trembling in their hands. They watched as Kelechi's markings glowed brighter with each beat, lighting the square in eerie patterns. Suddenly the earth trembled. A shadow unfurled from the forest edge, stretching like smoke into the square. The keeper had returned, but this time, its form loomed taller, more terrible than before. Its voice roared like thunder across the village. "The pact has been broken." The silence shattered. Now the debt must be paid. The people screamed, some fleeing, others falling to their knees. Kelechi stood trembling in the glow of his curse. He understood then. The truth he had sought was no gift. It was a burden that would drag all of Odu into reckoning. The keeper's form stretched across the square, its smoky tendrils coiling like snakes. Villagers wailed, clinging to one another, while the elders stood rooted in fear. Baba Orji raised his staff, but his voice cracked when he shouted, "You cannot appear here." "The pact holds. The keeper's burning eyes turned toward him. The pact is broken because you deceived your own. Silence was your shield, but the boy has torn it away. The debt of Odu is due once more. The people turned their eyes to Baba Orji, shock and fury mixing with terror. What debt? Someone cried. What have you bound us to? Baba Orji's lips trembled, but Kelechi spoke first. They bound us to this drum, to feed it the lives of the curious and the brave. That is why so many who followed its sound never returned. They were sacrificed, hidden behind the silence of our elders. A scream ripped through the crowd as the truth spread like wildfire. The keeper's voice thundered again. Now the balance must be restored. The blood of one marked must seal the drum again, or the village shall fall to famine and war as once before. All eyes turned to Kelechi. His markings blazed like fire, casting shadows across his frightened face. The crowd erupted into chaos. Some cried, "Take the boy! Better one life than all of Odu!" Others shouted, "No! He is only a child. The elders must answer for their lies." The square trembled with division, the drum pounding louder beneath their cries. Kelechi's mother forced her way through the crowd, throwing herself in front of her son. "You will not take him," she screamed. "He is mine. He is all I have." Tears streaked her face, but her body was unyielding. Baba Orji raised his staff once more, his voice filled with desperation. "The boy must die. The pact demands it. Without the drum, we are nothing. Without its beat, death will return to us all." But Kelechi shouted over him, "No, the pact is nothing but chains. If you kill me, the drum will live and the curse will continue. If you destroy it, perhaps we can be free." The keeper's gaze swept the crowd. Choose. The mark must be sealed by blood, or the drum must be broken. But beware, freedom has its own price. The village had never been so divided. For the first time in generations, fear gave way to choice. As the crowd murmured, voices rose in anger toward the elders. "You deceived us," they shouted. "You fed us lies while our children vanished." One man hurled a stone at the ground near Baba Orji's feet. Another woman spat at the council. The other elders shrank back, but Baba Orji stood defiant. "Fools! Do you think survival is free? Without the pact, your fathers, your mothers would have starved long ago. We did what had to be done." Kelechi's voice cut through the noise. "You chose silence over trust. You chose death for the few to feed the many. That is not survival. It is slavery to the dead." The people roared in agreement, their anger now a flood. They surged forward and the council broke apart in fear. Baba Orji struck at the crowd with his staff, but his power waned. The keeper's voice boomed. "The time has come. No more silence. The pact cannot endure." Lightning split the sky, and the shadows around the keeper thickened, pressing down on the village. Baba Orji fell to his knees, clutching the earth. "If the drum is broken, all of us will fall. You doom us all, boy." But the elder's cry was drowned by a deep, thunderous beat. Boom! The midnight drum was speaking on its own. The villagers froze, eyes wide, turning not to Baba Orji, but to Kelechi. And in that instant, Kelechi's shadow moved, though he did not. What happens next? Find out in part 2, only on Timeless Tales Africa. Like, share and subscribe, because here, every drumbeat carries a secret.